So have you ever been in a fighting game where you were like fighting a guy a bunch and you're like, well, how do I take him out in a fancy way? Well, you can pull the guy's head back, take a salt shaker, and just shake it on his eyes so he's just crying all the time. Or if you're not into that, you can pin the guy down with your foot right on his neck, take a teapot that you found randomly on the street, and pour the tea on his face. And if that's not good enough for you, you can take a bowling ball and throw it just like a bowling ball and take out someone's legs. Yes, I'm talking about Yakuza 0, and here's my review for this awesome game. So, this game deals with the Yakuza. What's a Yakuza? I don't know, but I played this game and it's awesome. So you get two characters that you get to play with here. So the first two chapters you get to play as Kiryu. Sorry if the pronunciation sucks, I'm bad with words, but I love the game. And then after Kiryu, you get to play as Majima. I love this guy, love both of them actually, and what's really cool about the narrative is there is a main point to it that is shared between the two stories, but what is neat is you effectively get two really awesome narratives, one for Kiryu and one for Majima, where they will kind of intertwine at points. You'll see it as the game keeps going on. At first you'll kind of see that, oh, am I getting two different games here? In a way, and then they start mingling with each other, and then you start getting other side characters, and you see where these characters from this storyline start mixing with these. And I really like it. It starts weaving together this awesome, complex narrative, but not complex in the storytelling. That has always stayed at a good point so you can always understand what's going on. But let me tell you, this game has a lot of plot twists. You're just like, oh, I thought this guy was an asshole. And then you see something happen later on, you're like, well, he's still an asshole, but he has another side to him and he's nice. He saves kittens. And it's neat. I like that it has this stuff and it shows this to the characters where you'll think they'll be one note and then you start seeing another side to them. So I like that they play with that with you as you keep going through the narrative. The story is really good, and this game is very story focused. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to get gameplay, but we'll get to that in a bit. But with how narrative driven this game is, it really does remind me of, say, the Metal Gear Solid series, where they've really been very story focused. Not 5, because that game sucked. But like with Yakuza, what I like is that there's always a purpose to what you're doing, and it kind of just fuels all your actions going forward. And these are very interesting characters that you do come across, especially with some of the side characters too. Overall, really good cast, very interesting story, and there's quite a lot of it in the game. So overall, if you love narratives, you should take a look at Yakuza 0. So the gameplay. Most of the gameplay revolves around all this street brawling that you're going to be doing. So effectively think of this game as a modern day Streets of Rage, but a little bit deeper than just kind of, you know, doing a side-scrolling game and just beating people up with bats and stuff like that. Though you can beat them up with bats in this game. What I like is how brutal the combat is in this game. It's extremely violent and it's really awesome. I mean, the way you like smack guys, and what's also really cool is how you can pick up all these items in the environment and use them against your enemies. If you're like, oh, I love traffic cones, I wonder what it would look like against someone's face, you can do that. And the takedowns with that's really cool. Oh, it's a potted plant over there. I'll just pick it up and throw it at someone. There's lots of stuff like that, and it's really amusing. I mean, you can even pick up bicycles, and then you hit the guy a bunch with the bicycle, and all you have is the wheel left, and then you do these takedowns on these enemies. Oh man, extremely satisfying combat. It's always really enjoyable. And what's great too is the game doesn't always take itself super seriously, especially in its gameplay. And what I like here is every time you hit enemies, money starts flying out of them. And I mean, like, that's how you rob somebody, right? But you feel like, you know, there's always people watching you fight, which I think's really amusing. I mean, like, yeah, there's a fight going on. I guess I would watch it too. But people are fighting in the street, and immediately you start seeing people being like, oh, what's going on over there? Let me check. Oh, they're hooligans at it again. Well, I don't need to go home and watch TV. But what I think would be funny is if some of them came in and were like, oh my god, he dropped some 50s, I'll just grab that, I'll see you later, bye. But I think that kind of stuff would be really funny if they added that in the game. But overall, I like the amusing factor to the street fighting along with the brutal nature of the combat. Great gameplay. The story follows two different characters, and what's cool is each of them kind of have different fighting styles that you can play with. So Kiryu has his main fighting style where you pick up items in the environment, use them against your enemies. Or you can do this fast fighting style where you throw in like a bunch of kicks and punches really fast, or you have like a slower fighting style where you can grab like motorcycles and beat people with them. Majima, he has a similar main fighting style, and then he's got this crazy dance one that's just awesome. It's like he's doing these crazy street dances, but then he's like kicking a guy, so he's like doing a handstand, he's doing all these crazy kicks, but really badass. And he's also got this awesome bat style, which I think is really cool, so he starts using the bat like a pair of nunchucks. I never got sick of using that move, and it was extremely satisfying because you could keep nunchucking the hell out of the enemies and they'll be hitting you and you're just like, no, I'm just doing my nunchucks and you'll die eventually. Oh, you did. And then you can like hit them, you can stick the bat in their mouth and then like kick it. Oh, brutal. So when you want to break from the main narrative or beating up random thugs on the street, there's so many side activities to do. So they kind of give you these open world-ish districts to play around in, and they're densely packed. It's not a huge open world, but there's a lot of stuff to do in it. And what I like is you can go to the batting cages, you can do some of that. You can race these little toy cars, you can do that. Or what I really like, and I think is probably one of the best treats in the game, is you can play old Sega games like Outrun, you know, driving your car at the beach, or you can play Space Harrier. I think it's really cool they put this stuff in here because it is a Sega franchise, so they put some of their older games in there. I'd love to see more of these in like the future Yakuza installments. Yakuza 6 comes out next year. Come on, throw like all of them, put Vector Man in there. I love Vector Man. But that kind of stuff is really cool, and they're nice little hidden extras, and they're a lot of fun to play. Or two, if you want, you can watch erotic movies in the game. Don't worry, it's not that erotic. So the performance in the game. Graphically, this game does look really good, and along with that, it runs at 60 FPS, which we just don't see on modern consoles, even though we should. I don't know why I say consoles like that, it's consoles. So yeah, it's really good. You will sometimes see some minor screen tearing if you're really paying attention to it while you're running around the districts at the top of your screen, but that's about it. Besides that, the game runs like butter. Great butter. Put it on that popcorn. And further, if you want more additional stuff to do in the game, you can do the side quests, which are these awesome little mini stories to them. And they're not these collectathons, you know, you see like in Ubisoft games where they're like, oh, while you're running around Italy, just go and collect 100 flags. Do I get anything for it? Maybe. And it just gives you an achievement. Here, they're like these little mini stories, and what's cool with them is that they have their own conflict and their own characters that go with them, and sometimes they're characters that will pop up then again later and have like a part 2 or whatever with their quest. What I like about these is they show a lot of the heart that your characters have in the game. So like one that I particularly really like is you help out this police officer who kind of lost a lot of confidence because he got his partner killed. And now he doesn't want to go out and solve any crimes. He just kind of does like, hey, you, sir, there, let's search your pockets. Make sure you don't have anything, you know, scandalous that you're bringing with you. But you kind of like boost his confidence a bit. You kind of help him save a lady who's under duress by like these damn hooligans. You go in there and you beat up the hooligans. And he's like, you know what? I might not give up the police force. I'll stay in it. So that kind of stuff, it's these small things. And what's nice is during all these side quest parts is you get to see like Kiryu or Majima what they're saying in their head. So I really like this because some people will ask them for help and they're like, really, why am I here? There's one instance where you are helping out a dominatrix, teaching her how to be dominating. And the reason for why she's doing this is because she wanted to gain more confidence with people. It's really funny, really hilarious. You wouldn't expect it kind of going into this like, oh, I'm playing the Yakuza game. Didn't know I'd encounter a dominatrix, but guess what? It's one of the best side quests in the game, and there's lots of stuff like that. And I really enjoyed the side quests. So they're more akin to, say, the Witcher 3 side quests, where you get these nice little stories than just things that are there so that you can check a checkbox. I really have just some minor negatives about this game. They're really just nitpicks. There's a bunch of invisible walls that you encounter throughout the whole game. Some people, that just drives them up a wall. For me, I just don't care because it's a video game and it doesn't really hamper any of the experience. Along with that, I ran to a side quest where you had to kind of do these light stealth elements, and if you got caught, then you had to restart it. But it's not really a stealth game, and it was a side activity, so it annoyed me, but it didn't really kill it for the experience. Along with that, there is a part in the story where a character does change, and I get their change. I just feel like there should have been a little bit more to it to show it a bit more, but they do a good enough job in the game. I just kind of wanted a little bit more. And one other thing that I would have liked is towards some of the really epic fights that you have towards the end of the game, some characters just use handguns all the time, but what sucks is if they hit you, you immediately go down, you have to get yourself back up, and then you're trying to run at them because you don't use handguns all the time. and try and hit them, but there's multiple guys with handguns. Now earlier in the game, you maybe have one guy with a handgun, so you'll go after him first. But when you have everybody shooting you, it just gets a little annoying. Minor annoyance, because it's extremely satisfying when you take those guys out that have just been annoying you, hitting you with bullets. It's satisfying to then be like, haha, I took you out and I took your handgun. You move on. Overall, I had a great time with Yakuza 0. I initially played Yakuza 1 and 2 and I kind of got away from the franchise, and I'm happy that I went back to it because I feel like it's a franchise that just doesn't get a lot of attention in the West, and maybe part of that is because they don't do the best job of marketing the game, maybe. I know some people have said, oh, it's like a Japanese Grand Theft Auto. Furthest thing from the truth, it's not like that at all. It's a really fun beat 'em up kind of game with a heavy emphasis on story and a lot of side activities. It took me about 50 hours just to get through the game, and I did some of the side stuff. I didn't do everything, so there's a lot there. And they're remaking the first one at the end of August. So you can't beat that, just a lot of Yakuza. So if you have a PS4 and you're looking for something different, you want a good story, great gameplay, and you haven't tried this franchise, Yakuza 0 is the perfect point to start out with because, well, it's before 1, so you can just start right here and then go right ahead with the rest of the franchise. And I want to say thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.